Now, what's important to say about DOGE, and I think gets missed in the general commentary, is that the idea of DOGE is nothing new. Over the past 40 years, successive presidents from Ronald Reagan to Bill Clinton to Barack Obama all had some version of DOGE. And all of them have looked at fraud and wasteful spending. Some have been somewhat successful at cutting it out of the budget. But in general, these kinds of efforts usually hit a wall. And I think that wall is going to be sooner rather than later when it comes to DOGE. The other point that I'll just say is that it is still the case that the U.S. has hundreds of billions of dollars of waste and fraud in the government. So it is a worthwhile initiative. But I think the way that it's being implemented means that we're going to see it not have the kinds of deficit reduction impacts that some in the market believe it may.
Aniket, Martin here. Great to see you and a pleasure having you on the show. When you talk about a wall, DOGE hitting a wall sooner rather than later, what kind of wall are we talking about? Are we talking about a political wall where the polls start going even further away from President Trump and the Trump administration, or are we talking about some other kind of wall here, like a legal wall? Because, I mean, some of these moves are being challenged as unconstitutional, as you well know.
Indeed, Martin, and it's a great question. The first wall, and the wall that is already being hit, is this legal wall. You know, the U.S. court system is a very complicated, messy arena. District courts have a lot of power and influence. It's one of the reasons that you're seeing Mr. Musk and members of the Republican Party talk very openly about impeaching judges, because a district judge can basically prevent some of these DOGE-related policies from taking place. So that's already happening. You've seen, for example, a lot of the probationary workers inside the Department of Energy who were fired. They are being asked to go back to work. You're seeing some of the cuts to the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, be rolled back from the courts. And so this is going to be messy, and it's why some worry that there will be some type of constitutional crisis if the president doesn't, in fact, listen to where the judges are going. So that's the short term, and I think we all have to follow the courts very closely. The medium-term issue, though, is that DOGE and the spending cuts that could come from DOGE will have a negative impact in the short term to the economy. And that negative short-term impact will be borne by lots of workers, not just in Washington, not just liberals, not just wealthy folks. Entire economies, whether you like it or not, are linked to government spending. And so there might be pushback there, and the political price of that could be significant for the Republicans.
Aniket, I mean, this is getting controversial, but, you know, you're a pro, so I'll leave you to navigate it as you see fit. There is a theory out there that DOGE and what Elon Musk is doing, you know, thousands of federal employees who are working honest jobs, right, being forced out of their offices at a moment's notice, carrying their bag in cardboard boxes, etc. I mean, it's just really ugly optics, right? But the theory is part of this is just a distraction, right? As emotional as it can be, and as much as it's getting people's backs up, and therefore cover to allow the Republicans to push through tax cuts, which are going to do only one thing, which is just exacerbate the whole fiscal situation. And I mean, it's a smokescreen, in other words.
Excellent point, and we highlight this in our note, which you referenced earlier, which was picked up in the Financial Times a couple of weeks ago. But one of the theories of DOGE is exactly what you're saying, that it is a distraction that will allow the Republican president and the party to push through the extension of the TCJA, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which, as you rightly mentioned, will impact the U.S. deficit in the order of $3 to $4 trillion over the next 10 years. I think there is something to be said about that. It is important to note that for all the discussion that Republicans are now very worried about the deficit, the budget that was just passed from House Republicans actually increases the deficit over the next several years. I don't blame the Republicans here on this point, by the way. No party has been fiscally responsible over the past 40 years. It's been a completely bipartisan issue, Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah.
But I don't see anything changing that from this administration so far.
Got it.